Hey there, everyone. Welcome to Tales and Text, and I'm your host Nisha. And welcome to another video. A very, very, very happy Independence Day to all Indians who are celebrating today, and a very happy belated Independence Day to all Pakistanis who celebrated their Independence Day on August 14th. It is the 78th Independence Day for both of us, and it's a very special occasion for both countries. We have come a long way from where the British. Disposed of us. We have a long way to go in many aspects, but progress isn't easy. It isn't fast. Progress will happen. It will take time. But a very very happy Independence Day to everyone watching this video, and it's a very special video for me because today I want to discuss books. I know I discuss books in every video, but today I want to do a book haul. I went and purchased a couple of books surrounding the themes of independence, freedom, in terms of what about the Constitution, in terms of the freedom struggle, in terms of what freedom and what dignity in society means for different kinds of people, and whether we have reached a place in society that we wanted to reach, whether our lives are better after independence, or has this somehow taken a turn that we don't want to kind of discuss or acknowledge. So where various things. All of these books are really interesting. So today I'm not going to be giving you a review. I'm just going to be showing you the books. I'm super excited, and I couldn't wait until I read the books to do a review. Which I will of course do in the future once I read them. But I just wanted to show you these books. Let me know in the comments if you have these books yourself, or if you like to purchase any of these books. After seeing them here. So, without any further ado, let me get started. The very first set of books that I'm going to be showing right now belong to the Sati series by Koral Dasgupta. This is an author you may have heard of. Sati series by Koral Dasgupta is based on the Panchakanyas, which is Draupadi, Kunti, Tara, Mandodari, and Ahalya. Each book, it's a 5-book series, covers one particular woman's life, and the epics are, that is the Ramayana and the Mahabharata, are retold from a feminist perspective from the lens of these women. So for example, we have Tara, the Kishkinda queen. We have Mandodari, Ravana's queen. And we have Ahalya, sage Gautama's wife. So all three books are really short. They are not pretty big. I mean, I think Tara is the only book that is the largest. um, they're absolutely gorgeous. Just, I mean, I love how the paintings look. I don't know if they're visible clearly on the screen, but they're absolutely gorgeous. One of the things that really drew me to these and why I purchased these three is because one, I don't have any books that retell the Mahabharata and the Ramayana from the perspective of these three women. And I have read quite a few books from the perspective of Kunti and Draupadi. So I didn't feel the need to pick them up right now. But after I read these, if I feel that Koral Dasgupta's writings is good, I would definitely pick them up. So I'm excited to look at the epics from these women's perspectives, because you'd never hear these women speak. I would say Tara is probably the only one whose voice you hear a little bit from the critical edition of the Ramayana. Mandodari's lament is something that some versions of the Ramayana have, but Ahalya, you hardly ever hear from her um, after Gautama curses her. So I'm super excited to read these three books. I want to know what these women were thinking when their respective spouses, went on to kind of change the landscape of Bharata, and the pivotal roles that they played in terms of shaping history, in terms of shaping religion, in terms of shaping caste class, shaping the country. So I am excited to read these. I do want to read them sometime in the next month or so, and I will definitely pick one up. So do wait for my book review on these three. The next two books that I purchased are actually much more modern, in the sense that they are based more in contemporary history as opposed to ancient history and mythology. And these two books I purchased in order to honor the father of our constitution, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. The first book is Riddles in Hinduism by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. This is by the Navayana publishers. Please forgive me if I pronounce it wrong. I believe this is based on Navayana Buddhism, which is the type of Buddhism or a form of Buddhism that was propagated or followed by Dr. Ambedkar. So Navayana Publishers. It's an anti-caste Dalit literature publisher. And the first book that I purchased was Riddles in Hinduism. So I'm going to read the back cover because these books are difficult for me to encapsulate just off the top of my head. So the back cover reads, Hinduism claims 1 billion adherents worldwide. To those who hold this religion dear, B.R. Ambedkar poses these riddles. Is it even a religion? Who is a Hindu? Riddles in Hinduism remained unpublished in his lifetime. When the Maharashtra government finally printed it in 1987, the Shiv Sena sought a ban. While the liberals looked away, the Dalit movement circulated copies. At a time when the Hindu right is claiming Ambedkar as their own, this fierce critique with illuminating annotations shows us how and why Ambedkar had no love for Hinduism. In his introduction, Kanchan Ilaya Shepherd tells us why Hinduism's biggest challenge comes from Dalit Bahujans. So I find this really interesting, and if you followed my channels long enough, you will know that I love to read anti-caste literature as well. Because one of the things that I actually realized while I was reading the critical edition of Buddha Ramayana and the Mahabharata is that people can scream and shout as much as they want that Sanatana Dharma does not have does not discriminate, or that the Chaturvarna system isn't how people say it is today. They can shout and scream how much ever they want about that, but the reality is that the caste system that is rooted in Hinduism has negatively impacted and traumatized millions of people, has oppressed, ostracized, marginalized, tortured, and destroyed so many lives. Generational trauma and generational privilege are real. And so it's really important when we are reading about religion, especially if it is about Hinduism or Sanatana Dharma, if you're reading about Indian philosophy, if you're reading about Indian history, that we confront the nightmare that is caste. And I think it is very important for anyone who's interested in reading, like I said, about Indian religions, Indian society as a whole, to read books by Dr. Ambedkar and by other Dalit writers. So I try to make space for all of these books as much as I can. One of my most favorite books, and a book that I think every Indian has to read, every person in fact in the world has to read, is The Essays on Untouchability, which is Outside the Fold, which I do have a review of. I will link that down below in the description box and put that in the end cards. Outside the Fold, Essays on Untouchables and Untouchability by Dr. Ambedkar. Brilliant book, heartbreaking book, revelatory book. You will learn a lot. So I always try to get books on caste. I have quite a big collection already, and I'm slowly going through all of them. So Riddles in Hinduism is something that is another set of essays by Dr. Ambedkar, and I'm really interested in reading about Ambedkar's opinion about Hinduism and about how Hinduism has affected both Hindus and non-Hindus. Another book by Navayana Publishers is called The Myth of the Holy Cow by D.N. Jha. This is a book that I am waiting to read, because this is a book that I was waiting to get my hands on, first of all, once since I saw it on Instagram. And then after that, I was waiting to purchase this book because this book talks about Hinduism's or Sanatana Dharma's belief of cow as the holy sacred creature. So the back cover reads like this. The historian Dvijendra Narayan Jha shows us how the holiness of the cow is a myth and how its flesh was an important part of the cuisine of ancient India. The earliest evidence for beef eating comes from the oldest Indian texts, the Vedas and their auxiliaries. Citing Hindu, Buddhist, and Jaina scriptures, Jha underlines that beef eating was not Islam's baneful bequeathal to India, nor can abstention from it be a mark of Hindu identity, like Hindutva enforcers argue. I agree with the back cover because if you have watched my, I believe it was the volume 1 or volume 2 review of the Mahabharata, I cannot recollect right now, but I do remember mentioning that they did eat beef during one of the yagnas, because it is mentioned very specifically, and it is the Pandavas who eat the beef. So before anyone says that, oh, it must have been the Kauravas because obviously they are Adharma, no, it was the Pandavas who ate the beef. And I believe there were a couple of sages also for whom the highest quality beef was actually reserved. So Brahmins used to also eat beef, the Brahmanas, that is. So if it was mentioned in the Mahabharata in the critical edition, I remember reading that. I remember even saying that in one of my videos. I don't know if I spoke about it in that video itself or in another video. But I have read mentions of beef eating by Hindus, by Brahmanas, by Kshatriyas, at least during ceremonial purposes in the Mahabharata. So I was really interested the moment I found this book on Instagram. I was waiting to get my hands on it. I couldn't get it so far, but I finally did. So the Myth of the Holy Cow is something that I'm eagerly looking forward to. I will read it, and I will share with you what this book says and what I think about this book. But I'm so excited to read this. So these five books, that is the Sati series, three books, and the Navayana Publishers, two books. These five books are something that I purchased today. I went out and specially purchased it at my favorite local bookstore because Independence Day is coming near. The other three books that I want to show you are books that are a little older. Of this, I'll start with the oldest of the list, which was just quite a while old, which is An Era of Darkness by Shashi Tharoor. This is again another book that you may have actually seen. This is a proper history book. This book, Era of Darkness by Shashi Tharoor, actually focuses on the actual British occupation of India, right from the time of the starting of the East India Company, when the first ever Europeans, the Britishers, came onto Indian soil, all the way up till India's independence. And An Era of Darkness talks of just that how the British rule in India was a time of total darkness, of nightmarish proportions for India, of how the Britishers decimated our population, destroyed our religion, destroyed our culture, destroyed our society, and they gave us false, I always call it false victories, false gifts in the form of cricket and railways, which were essentially done for their enjoyment, for their product, for their economic progress, I would say. They bequeathed us with those fake false gifts, and they left, taking absolutely everything that we owned. In fact, if you visit Britain right now, absolutely everything that they have, everything they own, comes from the blood, sweat, and tears of all colonies, India, Africa, everything. So, the Era of Darkness talks of this nightmarish period of Indian history, which is the time of the British occupation of India. I am eagerly waiting to read this book. It is a big book, as you can see. And Shashi Tharoor, as I'm sure you know, this man right here, he has a tendency to use really tough, complicated language. So I'm pretty sure I'm going to need a dictionary next to me at all times so I can understand what he writes in this book. But I am really eager to read this, especially given that it's the 78th independence. And it's important to understand our legacy, where we come from, because for a very large number of us, myself included, we have no lived context of the independence. Our great grandparents who lived through the independence struggle are most likely, for most people, they would already be dead. Any old grandparents might, I don't know, they may or may not have shared those stories with you. So it is only books like these, accounts like these, that give us context into where we come from and who we are, who we were, and where we're heading. So I think it's really important for us to read these books, because then we'll understand, in terms of, we might not like where we are today as a nation. We might not like a lot of things about where Bharata or India is. But books like these give us context in terms of how far we've come, the kind of challenges we've had to overcome, the challenges that were inherent before the British, the challenges that cropped up uniquely because of the British occupation, and which were forced upon us and foisted upon us, and which we were forced to navigate till now. So I think that's why it's really important to read books like this. So I am eager to pick this up and start reading, and once I do, I will give you a review of this book. And if you've read this book, Era of Darkness by Shashi Tharoor, do let me know in the comments what you think about this book. Okay. The next book that I want to read is also related to the independence struggle, but this is a fiction book. That I would say it's a historical fiction book, which is based on the freedom struggle, and it is Yashpal's This Is Not That Dawn, or Jhota Sach. Now, Yashpal is an author who I have reviewed before. His book Divya is a book that I really enjoyed. He's considered one of the earliest feminist writers in India, who wrote exclusively in English. I mean, apart from the regional languages, he also wrote in English, and he's considered one of the first feminist English writers from India. So This Is Not the Dawn is based on the freedom struggle. It is based on life in Lahore just before the partition of India in 1947, and the kind of tragedy that unfolds right after India and Pakistan both gain independence, but the line is drawn, the partition is done. And while that may look like just a simple, innocuous line on a map, it is of of devastating proportions to the people who are living in the border in India and Pakistan. So again, humongous book. Print is really, really small. I don't even know if you can see this right now. So this is a mammoth. This is a beast. This is a beast of a book, right? But I'm super excited to read this because I always feel like, while nonfiction is really important to understand facts and reality, fiction is really important because it speaks of hopes, dreams, aspirations, the losses, the tragedies, the sadness, uh, the wants, just everything that makes us us is based in fiction, because fiction is about the soul, whereas nonfiction is about the body. If that makes sense, I don't know. That's how I kind of always think about it. So while I'm reading Shashi Tharoor's An Era of Darkness, I also want to read This Is Not the Dawn, because while this shows us exactly what happened, why it happened, this shows us the consequence of all this happening. So I'm super excited to read it. The final book that I want to talk about is Tawaif Nama by Saba Dewan. And one of the reasons that I purchased this book is because, and no, it is not because of the show Hira Mandi. Do not talk to me about the show. Why Sanjay Leela Bansali's investment in the furniture, decor, and the costumes was incredible. I think historically it was super inaccurate, and I don't think he did enough justice to Tawaifs. And no, they were not call girls, they were not prostitutes, they were not geishas, they were politically astute women who had significant knowledge about the arts, who were economically independent at a time when women had to depend exclusively on the men in their lives, and they could influence kings and emperors. And I think that is a super strong woman that everyone needs to kind of respect. Formidable woman, a woman made of nerves of steel. So Tawaif Nama is a history of a group of Tawaifs. I would say it's a family of Tawaifs. The back cover states that it's a multi-generational chronicle of a family of a well-known Tawaif with roots in Banaras and Bhabua. It's a story of the family, it's a story of individual Tawaifs, and it talks of the nuances of what Tawaifs used to do, their crucial role in the social and cultural life of northern India, their their skills as singers and dancers, and as companions to elite men in society. Their art, their Kathak, which is something that a lot of women and men in India practice with passion. Their singing, how it affected Hindustani music. So, the kind of affluence that they brought, the kind of shine that they brought to society, and also the kind of stigma that they faced, because once again, what the British did, because the British were the ones who dubbed these as call girls, prostitute women of the flesh, because until the British came, they were women who were respected, and after the British, they were women who were reviled. So Tawaif Nama is something that I'm so eager to read, because Tawaifs did play a very strong role in the freedom struggle, in getting India its independence, in helping indigenous people fight for their freedom. So this is something that I really want to read. So these were the books that I wanted to talk to you about. I'm super excited to read them. They all deal with different aspects of freedom, of place in society, of personal dignity, of evolution of society, of things like caste and gender, and just where we are heading as a country. So these are the books that I purchased. This is my book haul. Do let me know if you purchased any book recently, or if you have any book in your current library, or in your TBR, of course, that pertains to independence, to freedom, or to themes similar to what I have discussed. Do let me know. Have you read any of these books that I have mentioned? Let me know in the comments below, and I'd love to discuss that with you. All right, so you have watched this video so far. Thank you so much. I'm really happy. I wish all of you a very, very, very happy Independence Day. Have fun, stay safe. Jai Hind.